moment. You all, I am Prophetess Tamira Bell.
And I am Jasmine Mike.
I hope you're excited about today's show. And I hope you've been doing some Christmas shopping. It's almost Christmas time. You guys, it's almost time to spend time with the family. Have you done your Christmas shopping, Jasmine?
Yeah, I've done my Christmas shopping. Pretty much done. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much done. I think, well, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I want to be done. Yeah.
Stop going to the store.
Right. I gotta stay away. I gotta stay away. Cause especially when you got toddlers and a newborn baby, it's like you don't try to look, but it's like, oh, you might like that. Yeah. I be like, oh, discipline, where you at?
It's hard when you have kids. It's okay. I don't know for you, but for me, um, I would like buy my son whatever, but it is so hard for me to buy myself something.
Yes, that is me. I think for me, I can go in the store now and I don't even think about myself. Period. I think about my sons. I even think about my husband before I think about myself in the store. And we were out and about yesterday, and I always tell people my husband is the expensive one, not me. And so I'm like, Lord Jesus, help us, because he's a country boy, so country man, whatever you want to call it. I say country boy. But so he likes to hunt and stuff. So we go into a store and he's buying the hunting outfit and all that. But then they have a child, and I'm like, say what? So I'm talking about the whole nine: the jacket, the pants, the boots. All I'm thinking is that's a good photo shoot.
Got to go hunting, but for the photo shoot,
It's good for the photo shoot, but the whole I think he's a little too young for that right now. You know, but my husband's like, no, I was doing it. Mm, that was a hard pill to swallow there. And I'm a person. I'm like, do what you do. If that's what you want to buy it. But it was a good photo shoot, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, maybe I need to give me one, not to hunt, but for the photo shoot, because I was like, this is gonna be a nice picture. you know, um, but it's the holiday season, and having children makes it more valuable.
yes.
You see it from a different light, for me anyway, because it's something you get ready for. Because I'll use the Christmas tree for example. I was like, I think it was the first week of November. I was like, I want to put up a Christmas tree. And my husband was like, what? Because I was so excited. I didn't put it up the first week. I did, but I almost. But it was so special to me because when I did decide to put it up, my son actually helped me do it. So that was a special moment, and I caught it on video because I do that. That's just me. But it made me say, "Wow, this is just the beginning," because he's a toddler. So, God, what else do you have in store?
Yeah, I think it's really fun. Like I remember as a kid, and every year, me and my sister be like, "Dad, let's put up the Christmas tree." Every year he say the same thing. I am not putting up the Christmas tree just to take it down by myself. Every year he fuss with us every year, but every year we put up that Christmas tree.
Wow.
And it just kind of became a tradition. He fuss about it, we put it up, and he take it down by himself.
Wow. Wow. That is family. I can't even express it no other kind of way because I don't. I use my husband for example. I don't think in his mind. It's not a God thing. It's not something men do. So he was like, "That's your area, not mine. You want to put it up, put it all through the house. Go ahead." And last year, I think I had 5 in the house. This year, I only did 2. Because I was like, I got kind of wore out.
It's work.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a lot of ornaments.
Yes.
It's work. Ooh. And then I understand when my dad was talking about taking it down because guess who has to take it down? My husband just be like, you shouldn't have put it up.
Right. You better put them things in the closet, no presents in the closet, get ready for the 25th. Right?
Oh my goodness, this is I think okay, so I think Christmas is more for the mamas now because we get so excited and the dads just be like, yeah, what they want, here you go. And we be like, well, you gonna help shop or you gonna do this? Like, it makes you want to do things together, and it just be like the men be like, they just gonna open it and
Right. Is it that serious? Yeah. I think it is because even when we took the Christmas tree, okay, so the big Christmas tree I have in this pink Toddler thing, this big tub thing, and I literally just pulled that out. I did not pull the tree out, so the top was still on it. I pulled it out, put it in the living room, and the first thing my son said was Christmas, and I was like, oh my god, and it shocked me because you can't see through it, so you can't see the tree. For him to know from last year that the tree was in there, that was um that was such a precious moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, like wow. And then he just started running around the house saying jingle bells. And I was just like, I didn't even know you could do that.
It's amazing what you find out about your kids when like they just do random things. It's like, you knew that? How did you do that? Did I teach you that? Where did you eat that? It's crazy.
It is. And I don't know. I just feel like holidays show the beauty of family. And when you are new mothers like us, right, it makes you really see holidays from a different perspective, especially when, you basically spent your adulthood life and doing you.
Right.
And you still cherished it, but it's a different kind of cherish now. And to see your children's face, it's worth it. It's like, okay, I didn't think about myself. I thought about them. And so you can only imagine when, deciding to give to the community, those children that are less fortunate, to be able to say somebody thought about me and they're not in my home. Somebody thought about me and they don't even know my name. I can only imagine what that can do because we feel the joy. But for a child to feel that joy, it's so precious.
It is. Okay, so I'm the oldest of like 4 girls. Okay, so it just always was my duty or responsibility. Around Christmas time, the girls would come stay the night in my room. Like, they always sleep in my room. We would probably watch Christmas movies, and that's another thing for me. And I know why I feel about Christmas. It's because the holidays and Christmas, it's so magical. And when you watch the Christmas movies, it's like, I want a Christmas like that. I want to spend time with my family. And even, like you said, Christmas brings family together, even the functional families.
Right.
Like, they find a way in the midst of all of their disagreements, arguments, to still be around each other.
Right.
And as a child, I didn't understand that, but I'm starting to see why now. But back to my sisters, they would sleep in the room, and I remember waking up at 12 a.m. Waking them up, let's go see what Santa got. And they would get up, and my parents be like, Jasmine, really? Like, we couldn't wait till 8 o'clock? No, ma'am. Up. Let's go. So we'll get up, we'll open the gifts, we'll go back to sleep. My mom will get back up, cook breakfast, and we'll enjoy the rest of the Christmas with whoever's coming over. And it's like, I realized, oh my God, we had our own traditions.
Right.
And now, being a new mom and having my own family, it's like, oh man, I gotta start my traditions. Because I remember our first Christmas with TJ, and my sister's like, so you gonna stay the night?
Wow.
No, I have my own family. But Jasmine, this is what we do every year.
Wow.
And I was like, but I have my own family. So I was like, okay, well, they that year, and last year we FaceTime each other opening the gifts.
Why? That, you know what, and that's a really precious moment because, and just to hear what you did growing up, because for us, we did the one present at 12. Yeah, we did the one present at 12 and then opened the rest later that day. Now, what we do, because I always say my husband can be impatient, but I think he'd be excited. He's like a big kid in this moment, because when 12 get here, he's like, we're going to open these gifts. I'm like, are you serious? No, we got to wait. No, we're going to open them now. And it's 12. We've done that every year. Like, okay, 12 o'clock hit. It's time to open the gifts. Point blank, period. And so, and see, I'm going to be real. The first year, I'm thinking like how I was raised. Okay, so we're gonna open up one gift and then open the rest. My husband said, "No, we're not. We're opening up all of them." And I was like, "Huh? Like that's not what you doing, you know?" And just to hear, you know, your side of it, that y'all did that, right? It's the excitement, the urgency, and I guess for us it was like, okay, we open one, and it's like, ooh, can't wait till later on in the day. But it's still special. Definitely special. But from us doing it like that, when you do go to sleep and wake up, all you see is trash. I'm just saying. And
pretty much. Have to clean it all up.
Right. Clean it all up. But it's so magical. Like you said, I love Christmas movies. The love Christmas movies, the family Christmas movies. It gives hope.
It does.
It definitely gives hope. And the thing I always think is, if we walked in that spirit throughout the year, what would that do for our family? What would that do for us if we just walked in that? You know, because when we do that, we're teaching our children, and it's crazy. I know what I'm about to say. That magic exists, right? And some people say that's wrong teaching, but for me, one of the things that drew me to faith was magic. Watching magical movies, I was like, oh, I want to do that. You know,
right.
As a child. And then when I finally experienced faith and got a taste of faith, that's what I compared it to. And I wanted to have more of that because of that. Because I'm like, oh, I'm close enough, you know. And I feel like not only does it teach our children that, but it teaches them the beauty of love.
Yes.
Love is beautiful. It doesn't matter if it's male or female. Because sometimes when I observe young men and boys, sometimes I think, do they think it's wrong to love or express love? It's not. But it makes me wonder, is that what is being taught? Because we have to really learn how to express that love, because when they're young, that love draws us closer as a family, and it really makes family magical.
It does. It does. It makes spending time with them more valuable, more meaningful, and it's hard, especially these days. If they wasn't raised in that type of household, it's hard to create it. And if you marry someone who hasn't experienced that, you have to kind of make it work yourself. And that's something that they don't teach you. They don't tell you. You know, most people say when you marry the whole family, and no,
Right.
you're marrying that person and you're creating a family, meaning that you're setting your own boundaries, you're setting your own traditions, you're doing your own things.
Right.
And it's extended family is what it is. It's just an extended family, but I can kind of see where it can get kind of confusing, because I'm close to my family. So my sisters and my parents, especially my sisters, be like, so we're not gonna do this.
Right.
We're not gonna do that. And I'd be like, I have a whole child.
Right. It changes the game. And it's funny that you brought that up, because I was talking to my sister the other day, and I made a statement, and she was like, but we're not them. and she was referring to our cousins because I made a statement. I said, yes, yeah, you are. The minute we had children, you became who they are to us before we had kids. I was basically saying, how should I say this? I said, okay, I'm trying to make sure I say it correctly because I was basically saying, because some people would be like, I'm not as close as I used to be to my cousins and all of that once you get grown and all of that. But once you start your own family, how close you and your cousins were when you were younger, that's what you and your siblings' children will become.
Yep.
And it changes the game of everything. And so it's like, y'all have your own family. We now have our own family. Yes, we're still family, but now there's an extension.
Right.
There's an extension now. But before we had children, there wasn't an extension. But the minute we start having children, marriage, relationships, whatever it may be, therefore an extension had to come forth. Almost like this. This is the best way I can put it. Thank you, Holy Ghost. So you put a plug in the wall, okay? All you do is plug it in the wall, right? And it's in the wall. But then when you start adding things, you have to get an extension cord so that it can get to the wall, but all of them will still be plugged in. So it's the same thing. We're connected to the extension cord, but we all have separate cords.
That's good. That was good.
Yeah, it's like, and that's what it is with family. We go our separate ways once we start building our family, but it is up to us as a whole to remain on that extension cord. Because if we don't, we may unplug ourselves and plug up somewhere else. And that can be dangerous sometimes because, sometimes people go into an abusive relationship because of that. And then you have sometimes where it could be overwhelming for the spouse. Y'all are too close.
You just hit it. Listen, I was just about to say, okay, so it didn't happen until probably about 3 years ago when my sister started getting relationships, okay? So everything was happening, life was happening. I got married, had a baby, my sisters are in relationships. So now the holidays are split, and it was weird, even for me. It was weird because we're used and accustomed to these certain things, right? So Thanksgiving come, and now we're splitting holidays. We'll spend some time with my folks, and then we'll go see my husband people. My sisters go see their boyfriend people. And this year, Jada actually spent time with her boyfriend for Thanksgiving, and they came. And it was just kind of different. And here comes Christmas, and I'm like, okay, everybody got to be here for Christmas because Christmas is mine. That's mine, okay? And I don't care who you with. They got to come. Like, Thanksgiving, do what you want. Right. But Christmas is mine. Why? Because I feel like because I have the child, everybody should come to me.
Oh, okay.
Everybody should do it.
Which makes sense, though.
But it does, because I remember having a conversation with my mom. I said, look, because I'm the one with the kid, it makes sense for y'all to come see us on Christmas. So I don't have to carry all those presents. I don't have to do all, like, y'all just bring it to us. We have our own little thing. We get together because it's traditions I really want to create for my child. Like the Christmas party. The movies really messed me up, okay? I want to be in the kitchen making cookies, hot chocolate, like gingerbread house. Hot summer, we gonna do it this year. But it's like I have a vision, and it's this vision or nothing, okay? Yeah. Like it's gonna be this or nothing. So I remember my sister was saying, "Well, I'm gonna go see my boyfriend and his family for the holidays." I said, "So you gonna be here for Christmas, right?" Yes, we gonna be back in time for Christmas. I was like, listen, I don't care what you do. Right. We'll be here for Christmas.
Because you got in your mind how you wanted to be. And it's so amazing you said that because, I remember growing up and many people that know me know I was to myself. So it was like, I always tell people, my siblings got to know me. I got to know my siblings when I got grown. But I thank God for my husband because my husband, he's like, pretty much, okay, I'm going to go back to Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving, he was like, we had in our mind what we were going to do. But then my mom, she wanted to go to Florida to be with her siblings and all of that. My husband said, wherever your mom going, that's where we're going. I was like, oh, okay. Change of plans. And then for Christmas, he's like, what is everybody doing? What is everybody doing? And I thank God for that though, because to be somebody who studies to themselves, and it's like God put me with somebody that says we're going to create this, right? Because you and him are a lot alike, you know. And so it's like we're gonna create this, we're gonna make this happen, you know. And I actually thank God for it because it paints a better picture. It does. It paint. If we had to be a painting, what would it look like? And that paints a better picture. It paints a better picture than just you and yourself, or you, your children for the holidays, opposed to you, your children, your spouse, your loved ones. Which one is the better picture? You get what I'm saying? So it paints a better picture. And I'm like you, the movies really got me. My mind is, if they can do it in the movies, I can do it in life.
Exactly.
And and putting together what it takes to create that is so worth it.
It is. It'd be so beautiful at the end. Like, I remember last year when they came up, and everybody enjoyed. We played games, we chilled. The night, I think Christmas Eve, you and the Mario came, and we had the Christmas party, and I'm like, this is it.
Right.
This is the life. Because for me, it's the memories.
Right.
It's the moments. And I want my son to have as many of great moments and memories as I can install in him.
Right.
Because it's some great moments and memories, but I wanted more as a child.
Right.
But because I was a child, you know, parents has to say so. You know,
exactly.
they're the authority. So it's like, and then on top of that, the reason why me and my sisters are so close, because it's just us.
Right.
Like, we have cousins, but they're like far away. So we grew up literally just us. So we don't know nothing, or we didn't know anything but us.
Right.
So people would be like, y'all weird. Like, y'all sisters, like you even said, like, that's not normal. And we don't understand what you're talking about. Like,
right.
this is us. You see one, you see four.
Right. and it says a lot about you at the same time. Like, and you plan ahead. Because I was talking to my sister, and the first thing she said was, we probably gonna spend a night on New Year's Eve. I was like, oh. And so we were talking, and my husband was like, so we gonna cook soul food, something they said, and I said, I didn't know we did that. Tamara, we did it last year. And I was like, we did? Like, yeah, we did. Like, you know, and I was like, I don't remember. And they're like, no, we did it. And she said, and literally before I went my way and she went her way, she said, now remember, Tamara, we'll probably spend the night New Year's Eve. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it's amazing when you can be on one accord. Because there are families that probably try to do it, and then you have people that pull back from it.
Right.
And that's where it's like you have to really thank God, and you also have to be specific with your prayer. Because I know before I was married, one of the things I definitely prayed for was that my husband gets along with my family and I get along with his family. That was a prayer that I prayed because I've seen families where they didn't get along and it could destroy the marriage. So I made sure that was something that I always prayed for. Please let us get along because I love family. Like, it took me, I've always loved family, and it took me a while to get out of my shell and get out of my box. But it's something I always loved. I had in my mind what I wanted. And I made up in my mind when I was younger, I'm going to create it.
Right.
I have to create this because it's in my mind, so that means I'm supposed to have it.
You're saying something so powerful. And this is why I don't like when people limit children in their imagination. Because when you do that, you're altering their future.
That's good.
Because a lot of things that we experiencing now, things that we say, we thought about as a child.
Right.
We wanted as a kid. So because we were able to envision that, imagine it, we was able to turn it into faith. We was able to turn it into our reality and live it out. So that's why I just let my son do whatever, watch him, but for the most part, let them imagine. Because it was because of my imagination. I was seeing stuff that I've never experienced. I was seeing stuff that I saw on TV. I'm like, okay, it happened for them, it happened for me. Maybe not now, but when I get older. So it's magical, but it's really just the kids learning about faith.
That's it. And it also allows us as the adults to be children with them.
It does.
Because we're just as excited as they are. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, are you serious? Like, prime example, when you guys went to see the lights, I was like, ooh, I really wanted to go. I did. And I knew I would be like this big 6'3" kid. Because that's something I've never seen. And it's like, okay, that I gotta do that. And that's what makes it really special, to be able to just do different things. So I know last year for Christmas, I think we did seafood. Mm-hmm. We usually do soul food, and we did seafood, and then afterwards, and I love seafood, but afterwards I said, we ain't doing that. It didn't feel like Christmas. The seafood made it feel like something else. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it didn't feel like Christmas because of the seafood. I don't want to do that anymore, but it's the experience of trying that, saying, okay, we're going to try that. And that's why I get excited about our future, because it's like, okay, we're going to eventually get to the mountains. And not just any mountains with snow, okay? We're gonna do things that we've never done. Right. We're going to put it on that list to get it done, because it's in our head. It's in our head, and God said we can have it. Mm-hmm. He literally said we can have it. And this is the blessing about the whole thing. We're doing it as the parent. By the time our children become adults, they will experience things that we experience as adults only, but they experience as a child. So that means by the time they start their family, they will have those, but they can add to it.
Right. It's okay. So it's this movie on Netflix. I think it's Netflix. It's called Yes Day. And as parents, as adults, you can get wrapped up in life, and you forget to have fun. You can forget you just take everything seriously. You just forget to live. Right. So in the movie, the parents give the kids a pass for a day, and anything the kids want to do, they have to say yes.
Right.
So it was so many different activities. I remember one, they went to this ice cream shop and they ordered this huge thing, which was like it had a timer on it. If you finish, you got it for free. And the dad just went in on it. The dad went in on it. The kids enjoyed themselves. I mean, they did some of everything. Everything. But what it did was allow the parents to open up to the kids. It allowed the kids to open up to the parents. It built their relationship. It allowed them to be free and remember, it's okay to be a kid sometimes. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to live. You don't have to be so serious or say no all the time. Or experience.
Right. And I think as Christians, that's something we get stuck with sometimes. Because sometimes, just from observation, sometimes Christians can be too deep. Where because you've given your life to Christ, you've limited your life. Right. And that's not what he's talking about. He wants you to be free. You're just free in maturity. You're mature with the things that you do. You're no longer immature, right? And so, you'll have people that judge you because you decided to do that. Y'all did that? Y'all are Christians. Yeah, we did it because we're free.
Right. I think with that, people take fun out of being a Christian.
Oh, that's good, Jess.
And that's wrong. Like, we have fun being a Christian.
Right.
Like, we enjoy life. Like, God literally wants you just to live abundantly. He wants you to live and just have fun. Like, heaven on earth is supposed to be a real thing. Right. Like, wow. You're no longer bound. You're no longer in bondage. And financial, like he just wants you to be free in it.
Right.
There are certain things that you can't do, like all of the partying and stuff like that. But honestly, guys, and I know some people are not going to agree with me when I say this, there's nothing wrong with drinking. What's wrong with it is if you get out of control.
Yes.
What's wrong with it if you
get drunk?
You don't make wise decisions.
Right.
You're not smart about it. But there's nothing wrong with going to a restaurant, having a glass of wine. It's royalty to me.
To me, and I think as a pastor, that is something that I had to learn because people will make you feel like you're not supposed to do that. But my word never said that. The word of God never said that. But people have said that. Now, I have never been fun of the parties and all of that. And I tell people because my dad was a DJ. So the party life, it's like it is what it is. It ain't that serious. Especially when you've been in that environment for so long. But I'm a person, I like royal events. Like I just believe that my father is the king, like the king the way I envision, right? So it's like I will go to an opera because it's so royal to me. And I'm like, I don't know what you saying, but you just made me dress up in a beautiful gown. You just made me literally put on my best, and you shifted me. You shifted me into a greater place, right? And so I'll go. But then you got gatherings where I remember in 2019, my mom and I we went to a rooftop party. I mean, I'm gonna be real. It was alcohol, it was millionaires, all of that, right? Can I be real? Okay. So, but I loved it because it wasn't. It was almost like, and this is the part that blew me. The maturity of it is the best way I can say it. There was alcohol. The alcohol was free. Can you imagine alcohol being free? And I'm talking about the sex on the beach, all of that, right? And I'm watching. That's all I'm doing. But I'm loving the atmosphere because the atmosphere was so positive. Because nobody was getting drunk. This is not a church event. This is not an event where everybody's a Christian. This is an event from different denominations, different religions, different cultures of people. I'm talking about from Caucasian to Indian to Hispanic to it all, right? But it's so positive. It's positive and motivating. No judgment, right? You're thinking, oh Lord, the alcohol's free. This is going to get bad. Because that's what we're used to. But that's not what happened. Because they were professionals, but they were also mature. God wants us to be mature in what we do. I have to be mature for my child. Not hide things from my child as if they don't exist. Be mature in my response to things so that the maturity can shift to him, to them, to her. You get what I'm saying? It takes that maturity. Christians, I believe, are taught that's the devil. You don't do that. That's not what the Word of God says. Now, will I connect to a drunk and put them around alcohol? No, I'm too mature for that. I'm not going to do that. If you know me, you know I'm a wine person. I love wine. No, I'm not a drunk. I love wine. I want to go to California, and go to the wine vineyard. I want to do things like that. I remember I had a client who's a travel agent, and she put together a cruise. And this cruise took them somewhere to another country, and it was centered around wine. And I'm putting the flyer together like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I want to go. because the whole time I'm putting it together, they're gonna be exploring why. I like that because I feel like it brings out the woman in me. It brings out the lady in me. That's just how I feel. Just like I feel the same way about pearls. Pearls bring out the woman in me, the lady in me. I, I don't have nothing against hoops, but when I wear hoops, I feel like I'm about to be ratchet. Okay, that's me. You may not feel that way, but that's how I feel when I put on hoops. I feel like I'm gonna be bad. I cannot be real. I do. So I said, let me stick to the pearls because I feel like if I put on hoops, something trying to come out of me that ain't got no business coming out of me. So let me stick to that because it helps me maintain the lady in me, right? So I see things from a different perspective, but it helps me to live. It helps me live because my thing is there is no way possible you think I'm gonna go to California and not go to a wine vineyard because I am. I am. And you can judge me. I really don't care. Like I don't care at all. But it's the same thing with music. I am not gonna make my sons believe that gospel is the only music out there. And then they go out of the house and they hear something else and they feel like I lied to them. I hid something from them. And they're like, why are they going down the wrong path? Because I tried to cover something that they would eventually be exposed to.
Exactly.
That makes no sense. Why would I do that? I'm not going to have a gathering at my house and play gospel music unless we're in prayer and worship. I'm not going to play gospel music and it's my child's birthday. I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do, I'm going to play music with maturity.
Exactly.
And that maturity says, okay, they're children. They got clean versions for a reason.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. It's okay. So you just painted a whole picture. Okay, because Christians look at stuff like that and they just think it's evil, the devil, the world, and it's a certain way to do everything.
Right.
There's a certain way to dress. There's a certain way, and it depends on the person. Like you said, well, hoops make you feel like you about to go ratchet. Hoops to me, I feel like I can dress it up and it be stylish. It be
Exactly.
so it just depends on the person. Like I didn't get into this pearl stuff until I connected with her, and I still barely wear this stuff. But in her head, that is what royalty looked like. So it depends on the person. It depends on what you've been exposed to.
Right.
It depends on what you see for yourself, for your future. And like you said, God is more than gospel. First of all, okay, let's talk about the music.
Okay.
There are some good music, and there are some bad. Cause some stuff just don't need to listen to.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with like the contemporary music, the pop music. Some of that stuff is really okay. I mean, okay. Married couples only. I say this again. Married couples only. Do you want to be in the room with your spouse trying to get it on with gospel?
Right. No.
That's what love making music is for.
And see, this is the thing. Is it gonna be your first time listening to it when you get married? Can I be real? Because that's how I feel like a lot of Christians look at it. Like this is gonna be your first time. No, it's not. It's not gonna be your first time. I'm sorry. It don't work like that. All right? Okay, I'm gonna use this for example. Man, I am a huge fan of John Legend. Okay? I love me some John Legend. So, John Legend has a song called Move. That's my song, okay? And it helps me. It helps me. It has helped me in so many ways. Like, when my husband frustrates me sometimes, right? It helps me not get upset. I can literally play that song and it shifts my entire mood, bro. Like, I'm like, oh, and it makes me fall in love again.
Mm.
Literally, that some songs are designed for that, and it's okay.
Oh God, Holy Spirit. Okay, I'm finna say something.
I don't know what she finna say, y'all.
When you're listening to worship music,
Mm,
what are you doing?
that's good.
You're being intimate with God.
Ooh, that's good.
So, how can you listen to worship music and be intimate with your spouse?
Ooh, that is good.
Worship music is meant for you to be intimate with God.
Mm,
Just like love songs is meant for you to be intimate with your spouse.
yes.
Every genre has a reason for it. When you want to kids party, pop music, listen y'all, if you can't deal with Elmo or kids pop, we can't talk because my son will sing his heart out in that backseat. First of all, he can't even say a full sentence, but he bite the sing it, baby, to the kids pop and Elmo, Elmo, Elmo. But everything for, I mean, would you cut off learning songs?
Right.
Would you cut them off? Kids learn with entertainment, with excitement.
Right.
So I remember, I don't know if you've seen this going around, but it was going around for a while. And it was an ABC song, but it was to the song, I think it's Trina. I don't know. No, it's not Trina, but it's the song.
Gotcha.
That song. Girl,
Oh, wow.
A-B-C-D-E. Girl, tell me why I'm up there like, oh my God, they don't turn this song around to a love song. But all the kids, A, B, C, D, E, F, and I'm just like, oh.
Somebody turned it around for the good.
For the good.
For the good. And see, that's where okay, so they say music carries spirits. Everything carries spirits, basically. You work a job, people carry spirits, right? It's all about maturity. It's all about maturity because maturity will tell you, I really don't need to listen to that because it is doing something to my flesh, right? That will cause me to say something or do something in a negative way. So I don't need to listen to that, right? That's maturity.
Right.
The problem is not the music. The problem is who's listening to the music. Are they mature enough to handle the music or are they immature? That is what it boils down to. I'm telling you, it's maturity. Like, I'm going to use this for example. Y'all do not laugh. I remember.
You feel the wrong person to laugh.
I know. I remember, and I'm just multitasking here, but I love it. Okay?
Motherhood.
That's it. I'm telling you. Okay, so I remember in my younger days in college. I want to say I was in college, and I was driving that green Saturn. Okay, and I had two of my sisters with me, Kiara and Jeremiah. Okay, and I'm gonna be real. I'm young in my early 20s. I'm listening to Lil Wayne, and I'm driving on 75, and I'm gone. Okay, boom. I'm listening to Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne. I'm not gonna tell y'all what I was listening to. That's a time for another day. So I'm listening to Lil Wayne, and I'm just boom, boom, boom. And a dog comes on the expressway. Yeah, a dog. A pit. I don't hit the dog hits me. That's how I look at it, okay? I don't hit the dog hits me. And when the dog hits me, I said, the dog hit us. I did. Because for some reason, instead of me going this way, I went this way, even though the dog was walking this way. So I got into this lane and it said, boom, the dog flew. I was like, wait, he flew. He flew, okay? And listen, I almost had a heart attack because I felt like it was the end. Okay? I said, No. And so I got off the first exit I could see to see, and I was like, I was so stuck. Like, I am never listening to Lil Wayne and driving again.
Okay.
I was gone, okay? I said, I am never, when I said I ain't never listening to Lil Wayne again. I think for a long time, I didn't even listen to secular music when I got in the car. I was like, oh no, y'all are not gonna do this to me again. And I had to mature because what it was, I was listening to the music, but lost concentration and sight on what I was doing. And so I had to mature. I had to get to a place where I was like, I need to have control over me, not the music control me, right? And that's the decision I made. And when I made that decision, that's when I started listening to other music while I drive because I had to mature. That's why we have to understand that things happen in our life because God wants us to mature. He wants us to mature because it's our immaturity that will take us to sin. Listening to secular music is not a sin. That's not a sin. Now, if you listen to secular music and then you go have sex out of marriage, that's sin. That's sin. You gonna say the music made me do it. The music that made you do it, the immaturity made you do it. And that's a hard word to say, I was immature. If you listening to music that make you want to fight, look, if you book, and then you go and punch somebody in the face, bro, you're immature. Because you let that music drive anger out of you. That's immaturity. And I know some people don't agree. And the thing is, you don't have to agree. Because you can choose to be religious or you can choose to be free. Because this is how I look at it. And right on into the Black history. If my child is born free, why would I give him a slave master? If my child is born free, why would I give him a slave master? The only reason I would give him a slave master is because I'm not free. Wow. I'm not going to do that. And that's why I tell people, know your history. When church was established during slavery, it was not about you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. It was about we got to become free. It was a place where blacks, and I'm talking U.S. slaves, I know there were other slaves around the world, where blacks came together and they knew that slave masters would not interrupt them. And that was the ground they used to come up with plans. They praised God. There was more praising God than preaching. There was more praising God than teaching. Because they praised God and then they came up with strategy to become free. See, the whole purpose of ministry is to help you become free. Like I said on Sunday, it's to help you get out of Egypt and go into your promise. That's why we're missing it. Why did Jesus come and save us from iniquity? He saved us from sin. He did those things because immaturity and bondage drove us to sin. Freedom does not drive you to sin. Freedom drives you away from sin. Because why would a person constantly disobey God? They're not free. They're not free. I'm going to use tithing, for example. A person that tithes because they're free. Now, you have some that feel like, I don't want to do this. You don't supposed to do it. If your heart is not in it, the word says you're wasting your time. Because he's going by your heart. But once you get that heart, the right heart, you're going to do it. Because now you're mature. That's the only reason you have the heart to do it. Why would a person commit adultery? Why would a person just run around and be a prostitute? Why would a person go around and just be a hoe? Right? Because they are in bondage. They're not free. Whether they're not free from their past, and that's what it is. A lot of people are not free from their past. Go ahead.
You know, keywords is pointing out. Okay, y'all, we're still talking about family.
Right.
because they're talking about family. So I'm gonna ask you a question because we're talking about history, and I feel like this is why some of us can't get free because you're allowing the history to keep you bound. You allow the history of our ancestors, the history of your family, dictate who you are now. Right. Dictate what your future is. So, well, I guess I just answered my own question.
It is, because what we have to understand is if we were to raise our boys in bondage, then they are going to have shackles on their feet when they become an adult. But if we raise them to be free, we don't have to worry about are they going to be driven to sin. Sin, can I be real? Sin is attracted to dysfunction. Sin is attracted to brokenness. It is not attracted to freedom. And we need to understand that. You know, I remember, I always tell people I would help my dad DJ, okay? And I'm finna help y'all in this area. And so the last time I helped my dad, I was helping him DJ at colleges, all of that, right? The last time I did, I remember my mom saying, you really need to stop because, you know, it's dangerous. And his mom died in that scene, right? And the devil is busy. Watch this. That's what she said. So I remember the last time I DJ'd, no, I didn't DJ, Lord. I worked the door. That's what I did. He had to do what he did. They used his equipment. I worked the door for him. I was taking the money for this club. And Albany State Alphas and stuff, they were throwing a party. And I took my sister Kiara with me. So we're counting the money, counting the money, boom, 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 just taking the money. She's like, this is a lot of money. I'm like, I know, right? So we're counting the money because they needed somebody they can trust. And my dad was like, oh, you can trust my daughter. Let me call her. And so we're taking the money. We're at the club, right? And this is the night my mom said, you need to, watch this, you need to stop. She said that to me. You need to tell your dad this is the last one because his mother died in that scene, And so we're there counting the money. It's a lot of money. But it's a lot of people collecting money because you got some people entering where we were, some people entering from the back. It was a lot going on. And so out of nowhere, it was the end of the whole thing. And the guys came in with guns, boom, 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 lined up, guns, all types of guns. I was like, whoa. And somebody took some money. So I'm like, my sister like, and I'm gonna tell you why she was like that, okay? She got a little scared. Okay, so when you operating in the club center, this is how it is. At a certain time at 10, you're gonna do half off. 10:30, you're gonna go back to normal price. So that's not what I did because my dad never paid me. So this is me. At 10, it's gonna be regular price. I'm taking half. I'm doing what they said. I'm respecting their game. So this is me. At 10, we're gonna use this for example. So at 10, it's $10. At 10:30, it's back to 20.
Gotcha.
At 10, it's $20. I'm gonna give you your 10, and I'm taking 10. That's how I was. So, and then a little Indian lady came in. She was sitting in the back. So I'm like, okay. So I said, here is 10, $20. Thank you. $20. I never changed the price. I'm just saying. So this was $10, $30, $20. So I'm giving you your money. I'm giving you money. So this thing. So it's her husband that was like, money's missing. So Kiara she's like, Tamara. Oh, I said, I didn't take their money. Okay? I don't take people's money. I ain't a thief. I didn't take their money. So you ain't got nothing to worry about. She got scared because you see all these guns. And you got to realize, I'm grown. My sister's not grown. I think she was a senior then. She not grown. She might have been a junior girl in high school. And so she just shaking. And so they said something. My dad just said, my daughter didn't take your money. She don't take money. I don't. Okay? And so she's like, so they walked out into the pier. What if the wife says something? She can't say nothing. We didn't say nothing. Because if I would have whispered, I wasn't whispering or nothing. I was like, this is how we gonna do it. The wife didn't say nothing. She didn't say nothing. Because at the end of the day, she probably took the money. But my surrounding is.
So listen, to the ones who are saying, how do I get free? To the ones that are saying, how do I break history? You go against it.
That's good.
I could have repeated history with my family. You could have repeated history.
Yeah.
But what would that have done? Kept us bound.
That's it.
But because we had vision, because we saw something else for our future, we went against what our history said.
Right.
Which caused a new creation for our generation, for our legacy.
Right.
And what you did there, even though your mom told you that was the last one, it took the mature Tamara to say, okay, this is the last one.
Because I was able to see the signs. See, immaturity cannot see signs. They're looking like, oh, okay, that just happened. No, the warning came through my mom, and then another warning came. That means that the next one could have been the wrong moment. But I was mature enough to receive it. That's why in the body of Christ, it's about maturing the people, not trying to control the people. Because a slave can become free, but if they're immature, they'll never be free. But if a slave becomes free and then mature in freedom, they'll experience freedom. How can one be free but yet bound? Okay, I'm finna help you. The light is green. Why are you still at the stop sign? I'm waiting for somebody to tell me to go. You're bound. You're free to go, but you won't go because you're not mature enough to say, I'm actually free to go. You're immature because you're waiting for somebody to tell you to go, because when you're bound, it didn't matter if the light was green. Somebody still had to tell you to go. Maturity gives you the ability to operate off of your own mind. Immaturity tells you that you function off of the mindset of someone else. So whatever they tell me, that is what I'm going to do. And see, that's why a lot of people don't move unless their pastor tells them to move. Your pastor is teaching you how to be bound. Because maturity, if you're being led by a pastor that's teaching you maturity, why in the world do you have to go to your pastor to make a decision? I want to buy a house. Why are you telling me that? You should be mature enough to decide that. The only way you're coming to me telling me that you want to buy a house for me to tell you it's okay is because you're immature. And I have not taught you or trained you as a pastor to be mature in your freedom. So I'm giving you the recognition and I'm telling you you're free. Watch this. But I'm locking you down in chains and making you believe that you're free, but you're really enslaved a different way.
Wow.
And we have to make sure as parents we don't do that to our children. Because now our children will become grown. And why can't you make a decision yourself? Because your parents taught you that a decision was not good enough unless it was made by them.
So question, because we're talking about ministry and we're talking about kids, but family is a ministry,
Right.
So are you saying that those who do religion or is religious and in bondage duplicating it in their family?
Exactly. Think about it. That's why if you're related to somebody and they decide to go to another church, they decide to go to another denomination, you're cursing them. You're telling them, let me tell you, I got a sister, okay? I got a sister on my dad's side, and she told me she was a Jehovah's Witness. I said, okay. She said, that's it. Yeah. She asked me to attend. Okay. And I went as her guest. And I said, oh, they teach some good stuff. That's not me, though. Did I try to convert her over? No. You want to know why? Because I don't know how you're going to find God, but one thing I do know is if I try to force you, you ain't going to never find me. That's not my job. I'm confident in your decision because I trust God that He's going to eventually get you on the right path. But what I'm not gonna do is try to sway you from a place. I'm not gonna do that because I'm not the controller of you. You have free will, you can do whatever you want. I'm still gonna love you. I'm still going to love you as a sister. I'm not gonna judge you. I'm not gonna do any of that. Now when you come for me and you try to convince me, my thing was, am I convincing you? Because if it's gonna be about convincing, I'll convince you before you convince me. But I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to do that. But see, what happens is the body of Christ looks at perfection, the word perfection, but it actually means maturity. God is like, all I need you to do is mature. That's why Jesus was like, y'all sleep. He didn't judge them because all it said was, y'all need to mature in that area.
Wow.
That's it. Because once you mature in that area, you're doing it.
Okay, so you just said something about your sister when you said you still love her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that towards parents. Okay, that's good. Kids do stuff we don't agree with, right? We did stuff that our parents didn't agree with. But it's how you handle it. Maturity. How do you mature? If you're not paying attention, I'm gonna go ahead and help you. Your mind. Your mind is where you mature. You look at things differently.
Right.
You respond to things differently. So when your child does something that you don't agree with, don't condemn them. Don't bash them. Don't force them.
Right.
It's different tactics. And yes, when you're raising kids, you sometimes have to do things differently with each child. Because some kids you can take a book and make them read the book as punishment, but as another child, they might enjoy the book, so you have to take the book away from them for their punishment.
Right.
And that's another thing I think as parents we need to realize. You can set a base standard as raising them, but you can't necessarily do the same type of discipline.
Right.
Or the same type of encouragement. I learned that being with having four girls in the house. Each one of us did things differently. We all have our own personality, and our parents recognize that. One sister needed more encouragement. Me, on the other hand, they pushed me out. Why? Because I was independent enough. My mind was extremely strong as a child.
Right.
So that will cause a lot of confusion in the house because I had a more mature mindset, and it took my dad a minute to recognize that. But once he did, he allowed me to grow in it.
Right.
He groomed me in that area to be mature with it and not mishandle the mindset, right? So that's the same thing you have to think about with your kids in doing that. Is
you have to trust what you train.
ooh,
You have to trust what you train. I remember, and I'm transparent, so I remember I had a friend in college, male. We were friends, and he was going away for college, and I was like, Dad, I want to cook him a meal before he leaves. Can I use the house? My mindset was, my dad gonna be there when I get there, but my dad wasn't. He wasn't there. I couldn't, because he trusted what was trained.
wow.
He trusted, and I was like, what? But that's how, I remember, and it's, while we were talking about it, so much is coming to me. I remember I was in the 6th grade, and I cursed for the first time, right? I'm just going to be real. I did. The first time that I knew about it, anyway. Because clearly, baby said, whatever, okay? Okay. So, I cursed for the first time, and I'm gonna be real. 6th grade, curse, chills hit my body. Chills hit my body. So I'm like, do it again, chills again. Okay, y'all don't feel that when y'all do it, That's how I'm thinking in the 6th grade. Y'all don't feel that when y'all do it, because I feel it. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Okay. And I remember I got home and I told my mom, I did something so wrong. And she was like, what? I cursed. My mom's response was, okay, this your life. If that's what you want, live it how you want. Ain't got nothing to do with me. And I was like, what? My mind, because I was a child that got a lot of whoopings, You finna beat me. You finna whoop me. That was her response. And that hurt me as a child because I was like, you don't care. That's me. You don't care? And she left with this. Do you hear me curse? No. All right. So you have a choice to make. I have a choice. And with her saying, I don't care, but then leaving with, do you hear me curse? I thought, she don't curse. So why am I? And I did curse. I made that decision that day that I was not going to do that. And I was like, she didn't control me. She gave me freedom to choose. And because of her training, I chose based off the training. Train a child. Train a child in the way you want them to go. And they will not depart from it. The chills came in the 6th grade when I cursed because that wasn't my training. It wasn't my training.
So the question is, do you trust your parenting?
Oh, that's good.
Do you trust your parenting? Do you trust that what you install in your children is enough? That when they're not around you, they behave according to how they was trained.
Exactly.
How do you do that? You observe. You observe. I remember growing up and people would tell my parents, your kids are so well behaved, they matter. They're so sweet girls. That is why, because we was trained. That's what we were taught.
Exactly.
And this is me. To me, it's full disrespect to call parents by their first name, okay, or grandparents. Now, I do it to my mom from time to time, but I do it when I'm trying to get her attention because she got like 4 kids. So everybody's saying mom or something. She,
right.
Hey, attention. But not as a regular thing that's disrespectful. If that's your grandma, say grandma.
Right.
If that's your mom, say mom. So I am teaching my son that just because they call this person by my name don't mean that you do it.
Right.
Because you're not going to call me by my name.
Exactly. And that's only because you do have some now that's what they want. They want their children to call them by their name. I'm not even going to judge you. But what I am going to do is make you realize, like say for instance, my son gets older. And my son, I learned this in college. People from different places believe in different things because they were brought up different ways.
Right.
And I remember we're used to saying ma'am in the South.
Yes.
So there's a young man that I was connected to when I was in college. And they're military. His parents were from New Orleans. And literally, they raised their children, don't you say ma'am and don't you say sir. Because their mindset was, that's a slave terminology. So when he talks to you, it's yes or no. And I remember we was talking to somebody older. I said, I'm supposed to say yes, ma'am, even though we grown. He was like, no. My parents used to tell us, don't do that when we tried to call them that. Because they said that's bondage.
You just shook my mind.
I know. And I was
Wait a minute.
I know. I said, listen, are you serious? They said that's bondage. He said, my parents said, if we got a whoop, we got a whoop for that. Don't say that. Say yes or no, because yes or no is, you know what you're saying, and you're not bowing down to a person. That's how he was brought up, literally. And I was like, wow, that's not how we were brought up. We were brought up to say yes, ma'am, no, sir. And he said, well, why are you still saying that to an adult? And have you ever told somebody older than you, yes, ma'am, and they felt offended?
Yes.
And they looked at you like, I'm not, it ain't, you were trained that it don't matter if you're a year older than me, it's yes, ma'am.
Yes.
No. And he was like, no, just say yes or no. He said, saying yes or no is not disrespectful. You're still giving the answer.
Wow.
And I was like, if an adult is talking to me and I don't say yes sir or yes ma'am, I'm disrespecting him.
Exactly.
And when I told him that, he said, "That's crazy. What's the difference in saying yes? What's the difference in just saying no?" And I was like, that changed my whole perspective of the. He said, "That's the South for you."
You just shifted my mind. Listen, I told my husband that. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So I have a stepson, but I have my son, right? So I be like, they have to say yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no ma'am. He's like, why?
Wow.
And I'm like, cause it's disrespectful. Like, and in my head, I'm like, we're adults now. We have to train them in this way. And what you just said was like, oh snap. Maybe I need to look at that a little bit differently because it's how you say yes and no.
Right.
It's in the response of it, but what is the difference in saying yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? There is none. And when you break it down that way, it's like, oh, wait a minute. I just got corrected.
When he broke that down to me, because I don't know what it was, but I corrected him. And he came back and said, "No, my parents didn't teach me that. My parents told all of us, don't you ever do that."
Wow.
And I'm like, when he brought it opened my eyes. And I started looking. And that's what we got to understand. People are trained differently. They're trained differently. And once you learn about the different trainings, you make a decision to whether or not that's something you want for your life.
And okay, because everybody talk about gentle parenting. Okay, there are some things I don't agree with. I agree with giving butt whoopings. Okay, I do, but I do not agree with giving it as a first response.
That's good.
That is my last resort with my child. So I do believe this is why you have to know your kid. Okay, some butt whoopings don't work for my child. Okay, so we have to do the corner. Okay, some kids you just have to talk to them, and they won't do nothing else. Some you have to go get a switch and use it, but don't be abusive with it. Like I don't mind the whipping, but don't abuse up a child. Like don't leave them like that. So it comes with how you take it. I feel like with our community, okay, I'm gonna say that we believe one thing and block everything else out. Anything that we don't believe in is not right. It's wrong, and that's not necessarily true. There are different ways of handling things. Just like you said, you took the information and it made you look at life differently, but you decided to apply it or not. Just like with gentle parenting, there are some things that I apply, and then there are some things that I don't.
Right.
So
And that's what you do, and you make those decisions because even when you was talking about switching, I got whoopings. Ooh, when I was I'm not supposed to be this person if you don't go back on my track record. But when you said switches, it hit me different right now because it took me back to slavery. Switches leave whips, and that is what was left of slaves. And you have to choose, like you said, what you're willing to invest in your child. A whooping is still an investment. What type of whooping? Because slaves were whipped, and they were whipped to remain enslaved, not whipped to be free. So you have to ask yourself, why am I investing this? And you have to communicate with your child.
exactly.
If you whip your child for somebody else, that's slavery. Because slaves got whipped for others. That's not freedom. Why in the world would I? Because this is me growing up as the oldest, getting whoopings for my siblings. Why would I get a whooping for something I did not do? Mentality. Freedom does not do that. It doesn't. If you whip a child and you tell them you're whipping them for somebody else, it's going to bring bitterness to them. I can testify that. I always tell people, they're like, well, you didn't want nothing to do. I remember my mom would say, you didn't want to be around them because you want to be the only child. That is not why I didn't want to be around them. Because I was being disciplined in that area that wasn't my area. I'm getting whoopings for something they did because I'm the oldest. That don't make sense to me. And that is a trigger for me. It's a trigger for me even to this day. I don't agree with that because it makes no sense. It doesn't help me, it harms me. We have to communicate with our children. Like I said, I made a statement bold. I will never whoop my son for his brother. I will never do that. Because I'm basically whipping him because he did not have control over him. I don't want him to have control over him. Because if he has control over him, his decisions will never be made for himself. They will be made according to his brother.
That's crazy that you say that because I got whoopings most of the time. My sisters, I can probably count on one hand each how many times they got whoopings. And their response was, well, we saw you do it and we just didn't do it because you got a whooping for it. So that was their result was, okay, Jasmine did this, got a whooping, then I'm just going to not do what she did and go on about my life. And I'm like, well, how come they don't get this and that? That was the flip side on my end, but I agree. Communication with your child is very important. Matter of fact, and I tell her this all the time, because Christian is a talker.
Yes, Lord.
My son was a talker. He's still a talker. But from the day he was born, we didn't use baby language. That was something I said I would never do. Okay, so my son comprehends very well.
Right.
Because I talk to him like I talk to everybody else. So as an infant, I would have a full-blown conversation with my child. I am arguing with a 3-month-old. I am arguing with a 6-month-old about what he can and cannot do. Right. Who are you? You are an infant.
Right.
But because I chose to have a full conversation with him, he comprehended. He understands. So when he's getting in trouble, you have to talk to them. Okay, if you're getting a whooping, this is why you're getting a whooping. If you're going in the corner, this is why you're going in the corner. You have to let them know, not just do it so they not just discipline them because they're going to do it again because they don't know what they did.
Right.
They don't understand, okay, what did I do that was so wrong? They're learning.
Exactly. And training is programming. But you're either going to be programmed to be bound or programmed to be free. Because if you're programmed to be free, then are you really programmed? You know what I'm saying? Because when a person goes to the military, I never went to the military because I said, first of all, ain't nobody gonna be screaming in my face telling me what to do.
Exactly.
But the whole purpose of that is to reprogram you. Reprogram you. See, this is the thing with a lot of parents. And we can go on and on. We may need to talk about this next week because this is stuff.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing with some parents. They're living in sin, they're immature. We're gonna say they're immature and they have a child. In their immaturity. So in their immaturity, they have a child and they're exposing immaturity to their child. So they're training their child in immaturity. So they're training up an immature child. So then they mature because they give their life to Christ. Now they mature. So because of that, watch this. Now they're trying to reprogram their immature child, not realizing, okay, that's going to be a little difficult for you because everybody can't do boot camp. You're trying to give them a boot camp based off your training.
Come on.
they're saying to themselves, who are you? You're the one that taught this to me. But parents forget you used to be immature. Do you not remember what you did when you were immature? I know he says old things are passed away, behold, all things become new. But you got to still remember what you did. Because now you're sending your child to hell because of what your child is doing. But you did that too and you're still here. And you still got a chance at heaven, but yet you keep sending them to hell. You cannot do that. Because it's your training that got them there. I don't care if you wasn't living for Jesus. You were immature. Because you could have been living for Buddha and still been mature. It's the immaturity that drove them there, not the maturity. The living for God is the, how should I say this? Living for God is the icing on the cake. But it ain't the cake. The cake is either immature or mature.
That's good. So you just said, even if you don't live for God, you still have morals.
Right. I mean, my dad don't go to church every Sunday. He probably do now, because he's older. He probably said, I surrender, Lord, right? Okay, so, but maturity told my dad that in front of my kids, don't curse, don't drink, don't smoke. Friends would come around. Now, you were a DJ. You were in the club all the time. And they'll curse. Hey, my kid's right there. Maturity. Drinking. Hey, my kid's right there. Maturity. Smoke. Hey, my kid's right there. Maturity. I didn't find out till later that my dad really do curse. And I didn't find that out until I was grown. Because he was mature enough to show us and reveal to us what he wanted to reveal to us.
So your dad gave you the best version of him.
Right. Maturity.
So as parents, we should be able to give the best version of ourselves. Not hide anything from them.
Right.
But be mature in it.
But even though he cursed, he didn't have to let me know. He doesn't answer to me. So he didn't have to let me know that he did that. The fact that he did not do that in front of me is not that he hid it from me. He was mature enough not to put me in the environment. That's two different things. Hiding something from me is lying to me. He didn't lie. He chose not to bring the environment to me. And see, we have to begin to understand that as parents. We really do, because it don't matter if you take your child to church, but when they get home, you drunk, slapping around the mama and cursing the mama. You are doing more harm to your child by exposing that to them, because you're confusing them. You're training your children to live a confused life. You're training your children to live a double life. That's what you're doing. You would do better coming into the church cursing than to act holier than thou like you don't curse and go home and I'm just being real. Because if you come into the church cursing and then they curse, you're teaching them how to be themselves.
Yes.
You're not teaching them how to be fake, phony. Because that's what you're teaching. You're teaching how, okay, God is okay with me, please, as long as I'm going to church and doing whatever I want to do. That's what you're teaching them. That double life is the way. That's not the way.
I hope we're helping y'all. I really do. I feel like there's a lot of freedom, right, in this session that we're talking about, because it's just so much that I feel like it's been breaking off of people as they're watching this. But yeah, we have to talk about this again.
We are, because how can we become harvest? How can we be harvest unless we're free? We have to be free to grow. Harvest grows. So we have to be free for the increase. And we can't do that. And to be honest, it is family.
Yes.
Family is the only way we can really get to our harvest.
And you said something so key. If you come into church cussing because you're being yourself. But this is the problem. The church frowns upon being yourself.
Because this is the thing. If you come in cursing, I'm going to tell you, you can't do that here. Right? This is a house of the Lord. You're either going to decide to mature or leave and remain immature.
But you didn't judge.
I didn't judge. I told them what this environment was.
I hope y'all caught that.
That's all I told them. What this environment is. this environment is not toxic. You have a toxic home, but you're coming into a place that's not toxic. The whole purpose of you coming is to mature so that you can drive toxic out of your house.
Wow.
That's the only reason. You're not coming to judge your children. You're not coming to judge the rest of the world. You're coming to drive toxic out of your house so that your house can be free. That's all it is. God wants us to be free. Freedom is not me doing what I want to do. That's not freedom. Because most of the things people do that are bound, they're not doing it because they want to do it. They're doing it because they're hurting. Freedom means I'm no longer hurting. And I'm now walking in my peace. I'm now walking in my joy. I'm now walking in who I am without the hurt. See, if I'm hurting, I'm still not me. Because hurt has latched on to me. I'm still not me. I'm still walking in bondage. The judge says, you're free. Okay. If I'm free, why do I have a monitor on my leg? If I'm free, why do I still have to see a probation officer? You're not free. You're still in bondage. So if I'm free, why is my past on my back? Oh. I'm not free. So I come into a place that's not toxic so that I can mature and deal with what is bounding me, what is holding me down, what is putting me in bondage. I got to deal with that, and I only can deal with it in my mature place. That's good. So I have to train up my children to be mature. See, you want to train up your children to be religious. You want to train up your children to serve God. You don't have to train your children to serve God. You just got to have the light. If you let the light of God shine through you, that's not the training part. Because relationship is not trained. It's gained. And once you realize that I'm not trying to train my child to have a relationship with God, I'm trying to show my child the relationship I have with God. I'm trying to train my child to be mature while they have the relationship. That is good. We got to get to that place. And until we get to that place, that's what's wrong with the world. We got too many immature people. Because they know God. They just ain't mature. Jasmine, we gotta get there. I ain't trying to teach my son how to judge. No. I want him to be mature. Maturity says, I want a wife, not a hoe. Maturity. Immaturity says, I want to sleep around. I didn't raise you like that. And see, I'm going to pay attention to you so that I can see your hurt. So that we can deal with that hurt. So that you can mature and be healed.
Wow. Okay. Communication is very important, especially with children. Okay? Mental health is real. And you just said, I'm going to pay attention so I can see you when you're hurt. And when you said that, it just reminded me of when kids come to their parents and they tell you, Mommy, I'm hurting, or Mommy, this right here hurt my feelings, or something like that. What do most parents do? Push them aside.
Every time. Well, not every time, but you know.
And you can't do that. You can't do that. You're teaching them that their feelings it doesn't matter. You're teaching the men how to not be vulnerable.
Right.
And eventually they're going to have a wife, right? And their wife is going to try to pour that out of them, but you have already taught them.
Exactly.
We don't do that.
And see, when you deal with that when they're children, you're actually teaching them how to be a husband and wife. Because if I'm observant and I'm noticing your hurt, I'm teaching you how to notice hurt. I'm teaching you how to be observant. I'm teaching you how to listen. If I sit there and my child come to me and I listen to him, And then I'm mature enough to respond. Not immature, which means I'm not going to respond off my emotion. I'm going to respond based on wisdom. What am I teaching him? I'm teaching him how to listen to his wife.
So what you just said, what we are doing, when you're raising a child, you're raising them for the future.
That's it.
You don't raise them for the present. You raise them for the future. The things that you're putting in them, the things that you are teaching them is for their future. Their future wives, their future husbands, their future success, whatever it may be, is for then and not now.
Exactly. And we have to make sure that we schedule things. The reason why it's so easy to make mistakes as parents is because we are allowing the world, the speed of time, to control us instead of we control time. I know I can't control time, but I can schedule it. And with me scheduling it, I can make sure before my son goes to bed, I'm reading a book to him. Why am I reading a book? Why do I read a book? I don't want to do it, but it's on my schedule. The reason I'm doing it is because I need to plant seeds in my son to slow down. Reading slows you down. It allows you to get to a place where you allow knowledge to come in. If I'm not reading to my son, he will only think that knowledge only comes from a teacher. Someone that is in the front. Okay, what happens if my son don't like school? I don't need him to like school. I need him to want to be educated. Books educate. Every teacher don't. I don't need him to be like, okay, I gotta graduate. If I put the books in him, he's gonna over excel. Why? Because he's willing to do something most is not, and that is sit down and take in words. See, reading, what I learned from reading allows me to sit and close everything out and actually take in words without a sound. Without a sound. Now, at first, when I'm reading, he hears my voice. I need him to hear my voice. Because when he gets grown, if he can't hear God's voice, he'll always hear my voice. And my voice resembles God's voice. Because I'm mature enough to feed him the word.
That's good. That was good.
Yeah, that was Holy Ghost, right? No, but for real, this is stuff that I sit and go in meditation. I'm like, what can I do to do it different? God, you gotta show me. You have to show me. Because the thing is, if my son don't know the difference in the voices, does it matter? If the voice is still the word.
Wow.
Does it matter if the voice is still empowering? See, if I tell my son, I don't know about other people, but I do this. When I'm bathing my sons, I bathe them every day. Everybody don't do that. I do, okay? I make sure. I'm like, I don't feel like it, but I'm going to do it. When I'm bathing them, you're great. Success is in your DNA. You are an amazing husband. You are an amazing father. You are a man of honor. You are a man of God. I'm bathing them and saying this to them. I'm drying them off and I'm speaking this. You are wealthy. You are humble. I'm speaking this. And I made a commitment to myself that I was going to speak this all the days of their life as long as I'm bathing. What is that going to do when they start bathing themselves? When they start bathing themselves, what are they going to do? I'm a man of God. I'm a man. Why am I doing this? Because the seed was sown. And it wasn't sown one time. It was sown consistently. So now it becomes their nature. Class. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. If this is good stuff, come on and put it in the chat. Good stuff. Man, we gotta continue. I think I'm liking the flow of this.
Yes.
And the
This is it's crazy crazy how family and ministry can align.
Right.
It's crazy how we're comparing parenting to it. But what happens when you get a body that comes in? What are you doing? You have to regroom. You have to reprogram them. You have to groom them. That's why, and I don't agree with this. And I don't, by saying pops or mom or, that's what they call the pastor or whatever. But
right, I'm gonna be real. I'm not a fan of that as a pastor. If that's what you do, you do it. But one of the things I would say is ask yourself why.
mm-hmm.
Why do you do that? I have a mom and I have a dad. And I remember my godmom wasn't a pastor, okay? It was just some lady. My mom said, Godmom, you're Godmom. And I remember when my mom was married to my sister's dad, she used to drill me. Call him dad. I have a dad. I'm not going to call no man dad but my dad, okay? And she would say, you're just so disrespectful. I mean, I probably was 5. I was like, no, I got a dad. You can't make me do that, right? You can't make me do that because I have a dad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you got daddy issues, you probably can do that.
Mm.
But even though I have issues with my dad, daddy issues ain't one of them. So I'm not going to call somebody else my dad. I'm not going to call somebody else my mom. I have issues with my mom, but I don't have mommy issues.
So let me ask you this then, because I don't think people really understand the difference in the parent and in the shepherd.
That's good.
So what is the difference in your point of view?
I'm going to say it just like this. I'm a shepherd. I create an environment that's not toxic. I create an environment that will train you up, reprogram you to be free. Not program you to be controlled, but allow you to receive freedom. I'm going to say it like this. Can I say it like this? Can I go there?
Go ahead.
Your house is Georgia in the early 1900s. My house that I shepherd is New York, where it's free. You come there, bang. My job is to show you how to be free. That's my job. My job is not to judge you. My job is not to condemn you. My job is not to be your mom nor your daddy. My job is to show you how to be free. That's it. I have to show you because your worship is bound. Your praise is bound. Your money is bound. Your life is bound. My job is to help you be free.
I love how all of this is just wrapping right back around to harvest, back to abundant life, back to freedom.
That's it. I don't want you calling me your mama. I don't want you doing that because you got a mama. You got a mama. You got a daddy. I ain't trying to do that. I'm not trying to adopt you. I'm trying to change your environment. That's what I'm trying to do. That's it.
So what does that mean? You don't have to go to the pastor every time you want to do something. You don't have to go to the pastor to buy a house, go to the pastor to start a business, go to the pastor to birth that baby. You don't have to do that. Now, if you go and you want some agreement,
you want some prayer,
then we can do that.
We can do. And see, the thing is, now, why would I choose who's going to be the prophet of the house? Why would I choose who's going to be the evangelist in the house? Why would I choose who's going to be the minister? Because I set the environment, and the environment needs to remain free. So I choose because I need to make sure you're free. Because if you're not free, you'll bring toxic to my house. This house is the house of the Lord, but it was a house that He used me to plant. I did not plant it in dry ground. I did not plant it in dead ground. I did not plant it in bound ground. I planted it in fertile ground. I planted it in ground that was free. I planted it in territory that was free. Not territory that had slaves around it. Not territory that had masters around it. So I need to make sure, watch this, that the leadership within it has the same mentality. We're not creating slaves. We're creating people to be free. The only reason why I choose who the minister is reason. Not because I'm controlling you and you're not ready. If I say you're not ready, it's because you ain't free. It's not because you don't know how to teach. It's not because you don't know how to preach. It's because you're not free. The preaching is good, the teaching is good. But if you're not free, then I just let toxic into leadership. A toxic person can sit in the room all day. Leadership has authority. I'm not giving toxic authority.
You know, you just shook up people's houses, right?
I'm glad I did, because I'm tired of the body of Christ being in chains. I don't need a spiritual father. I have a father. I have leaders in my life. But she ain't gonna hear me call them father, because God is my spiritual father. God. Now, for you that are religious or whatever, and you have spiritual father, spiritual mother, if that's what you have, that's what you have. Don't try to convince me though, because I'm free. I don't have to go to a grown person and ask them, should I do this? My relationship with God is on point. Why? Because I put him on a schedule.
So, wow, okay? Wow. So what you just did, this is what I got from this. Okay, you choose leaders that are free. You know what you just said? You just gave some authority to other leaders in the church. Religious churches don't do that. They choose who they can control. They choose who they can limit.
Right.
But you just said, this your era, do you.
Right.
You're free in it. Do you.
Right.
Most pastors don't do that.
But I can say do you if you're free. Because if you're free, you're not hurting. And if you're free and you start hurting, you're so free you'll come to me and say, I can't preach today, I can't teach today because I'm hurting. And I'm going to teach from a hurt place. See, if you're still bound, you're going to teach from that hurt place.
You are shaking up some houses right now. Like,
we got to be free.
You are flipping it upside. I mean, you coming in, flipping over tables and chairs and saying, move.
Got to. Because I'm tired of people not being free. So when you come to me and say, I want to do this, and I say, why are you telling me that? I'm not doing that to be cruel to you. I'm doing that to you because I'm not your master. I'm your pastor. I bring you into an environment that helps you become free. That's it. I'm not supposed to control you. And I'm not going to. Because you'll drain my freedom. Woo!
Wow.
I'll become bound to you. I don't need you bound to me, and I don't need to be bound to you.
Wow.
We can go on and on.
We can, because I'm just over here. My mind is like, Jesus.
This has to be continued.
Yes.
To be continued. To be continued. Oh man, this was a great conversation.
It was. I really feel like some people was free today. Like, seriously, they're going back to their houses and said, okay, God, how do I do this?
Right.
Lead me, guide me, help me out, heal me. Because this just touched everything.
Dude. So you guys, I definitely want to thank you for tuning in today to I Am Harvest Moments. I am Prophetess Tamira Bell.
And I am Jasmine Poindexter.
You guys have a great rest of your night. Make sure you share the video, tag for DM5, because there's some mother, some father who needs to hear this message today.
And you all have a happy, happy, happy holiday.